Hello everyone! In this video, we'll be building this dinosaur generator web app using Node.js and JavaScript. It's nothing too fancy, but when you click the button, it'll generate a fake dinosaur name and a random dinosaur image to go with it. The cool part is that the dinosaur information is coming from two APIs. The app uses JavaScript to get the API data on the server, and then passes it to the client side to display the data on the website. The APIs themselves are loaded through Rapid API, which has an API hub with lots of different ones you can use. Rapid API is sponsoring this video, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to build something using APIs, which is an important skill to have. The only problem is that I've literally never used Node to build a website. I'm not exaggerating here. I have programmed a little in C#, but I'm a JavaScript noob, so I figured I'd show you how much I have to look up when I'm coding. It'll be fun. I did have to research a bunch to get this working, and I'm super grateful to the Coding Train YouTube channel with their playlist on APIs and JavaScript, WebDev Simplified's video on building a weather app, CodeStacker with their video on using multiple APIs, and Anya Kubo's videos explaining asynchronous JavaScript. They were all extremely helpful resources, and I've put links to all of them down in the description. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to set up our website. So since I am using Node, we need to install Express because I'm going to be using that to make the website. So in our terminal window, let's go up here and we're going to install npm install Express. Actually, I first need to npm init. Entry point, yes, index.js. Okay, I think that's what I need. So got a package JSON file. I think what I saw in, I believe it's the video from WebDev Simplified, is under scripts. We're going to set dev. And then in here, we want to use nodemon, which will automatically reload your node server anytime you make a change. And the entry point is going to be index.js. So we got that. Now let us install Express. And we need to install nodemon. npm install nodemon save dev. Too excited. Okay, so now we got Express and we have our nodemon installed. The next thing we want to do is actually create the app. One thing I found was pretty helpful was Express has pretty good documentation. So here on their website is a hello world example. So for our app here, we're going to require Express. So I'm going to copy that. I don't think I need that version number. In our project, we're going to create index.js, and this is going to be where we run Node. So this is our server-side JavaScript. So I'll paste that in, and I don't know, I use semicolons at the end of my lines. I know not everybody does that. But basically the first line is importing the Express module. Then we're going to create an app, an Express app, and then we want to set the port. So this is which port we're going to load our local website. The next thing I want to do, I believe, is, let's go back to the docs. So what I want to do is, I'm not running the apps strictly from JavaScript, but I'm going to have like an index.html file and some other static files like CSS and JavaScript. So I think here, serving static files. Okay, so use the following code to serve images, CSS files, and JavaScript files in a directory named public. So I believe this is what I want to use. So this will say that we're using the public folder, and I think I forgot one thing. Oh yeah, here we go. So listen. So this is telling the server to listen for any requests made at the port, which is 3000. And it includes this hyperlink here. So the server's going to listen for 3000. If the browser makes a request to load this local website using port 3000, then it'll serve the website. So the next thing I need to do is, since I'm serving my static assets from the public folder, I need to make a public folder. So public, and in the public folder, I'm going to create index.html. And then I'm also going to create a style.css file, and then my client-side JavaScript, which will just say script.js. So in our index.html, let's just create some boilerplate and change the title to dinosaur generator. And we'll just add some text here. The same thing, dinosaur generator. Okay, and then even though we have blank CSS, let's just add the references. So that's correct. And then we're going to add a script to load the script.js file. Is that right? Oh boy. Yeah, I think that's right. We'll find out. Let's just test console log script.js loaded. And then for style, I guess I can just start adding some boilerplates. So font size 100%. This will make things more responsive. Box sizing, border box. And then for all elements, as well as the before and after pseudo elements, we will say box sizing inherit. And then for the body, we'll just say margin 0, padding 0. And I think this is fine for now. Okay, so now that we have our static files, I think I can just try to run this now. So in our package.json file, when we created this, we said we have a dev script. And when we run dev in the command line, it's going to run nodemon index.js. So let's try that. So npm run dev and see what happens. Okay, cool. So it's saying example app is listening. So we'll load this up in our browser. Let's see if that loaded. Oh, and it did. So if we inspect this, it is loading. And let's just make sure that so our script.js did load. And then our CSS. So let's just see. Yeah, so you can see here, font size 100%, box sizing, border box coming from style.css. Make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. There we go. Okay, so it looks like things are loading. All of our static assets are loading. So this is our local Express site. So I guess that was kind of easy. It's kind of funny because I definitely wouldn't say that I'm like an expert programmer, but I used to do more full stack stuff in C#, and this is just much different. It's pretty interesting how you can, just with these few lines of code, spin up an entire server. So I can kind of see the appeal of this because you can just write this in VS Code. You don't need to set up a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, the next thing we want to do, since we have our website running now, is to look at getting the API data. So we're going to go to Rapid API website. And what I'm going to do is I'm using two APIs. So I'm using the dinosaur, like lorem ipsum thing. And then I'm also going to use the Bing image search API. So let's just load the dinosaur one thing first. So it's called Dino Ipsum. One cool thing about Rapid API is that they have this tester here. So if I click test endpoint, it's going to give me a response. So you can see here in the results tab, this is what it's giving you back. Now I don't need all this lorem ipsum filler. I actually just want two words really. So if we scroll down, here are the parameters that you can set. So paragraphs, it's giving me 30 paragraphs. I really just want one. And words, number of words per paragraph, I want 2. And then format, let's do JSON just because I feel like most APIs will give you JSON. So we may as well do that, even though I guess text would be just as good. So now with our new parameters, let's retest the endpoint. And we can see the result is an array with these 2 dinosaur names. I don't even know if they're real dinosaur names, but you know, we'll see. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy the code from Rapid API. We're going to use the fetch function. So I'm just going to leave this here and we're going to go back to our code. So what we need to do is right now we want to create a route in Express. So in our index.js file, which is the server JavaScript, we want to create a route, which is, I don't know if I understand it fully, but it's almost like sort of like an API in that the client can make an HTTP request to the server to either get information or to post information if you're submitting information from the client to the server. We're going to be using get because we just need to get information. We're not filling out a form or submitting anything like that. So we are going to create our first route, and this is going to load the name of the dinosaur. So app.get, and then this takes a couple parameters. The first one is the path that you're going to use to access this route. So I'm just going to say dino name. And the second one is the handler function, so code that you run when this route is hit. So we're using an async function, request and response, and that's the parameters that the async function is going to take. Use a little arrow function here. This is all very new to me. So, okay, so then in here is we will, run the code. Run code stuff. So the reason we're using an async function instead of just, I guess, a regular function is because we are pulling data from the API. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take to get, the API data to our server. So that's why you use async, so that you can wait until you've received the data and then do something with it. Otherwise, I think it would just try to run everything at the same time, and then that may not work out very well. So from what I understand, when you use an async function, then you use the await keyword for the things that you want to run, I guess, in sequence. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get or fetch the API data from the API using the JavaScript fetch function. So if we go back to the Rapid API site, we're just going to copy this part here. And I do want to make a note here that you can see my API key displayed here, but I'm going to delete it after I finish building this before the video goes out. So it's really important to make sure your API keys stay secure when you're working with them. So I'm only going to copy this fetch section because we're using the async await thing instead of fetch and then chaining a bunch of thens. Just from what I was reading, that seems to be considered a little bit better syntactically. So we pasted this stuff in here, and you notice every time we save the file, it sort of restarts our node server. Let me just scoot that down a tiny little bit. Okay, so we got the fetch thing here, but we want to set it as a constant. So const, I'll just say fetch API. So we're saving this as a constant. So this is getting the API data. So once we get the data from the API, the fetch function returns a JavaScript promise. Something I don't completely understand again, but I do know that we need to convert the promise into JSON format. So what we can do is create another constant, and I think this needs to be await. Yeah, there we go. So okay, another constant, and we're going to call that the response. So dino name response, and this is going to be another await because we're running this after the fetch API thing. So await, and then we're going to load the fetch API, but we're going to parse it into JSON. And then the last thing we want to do is, because this is a route on the server, we need to respond to any client requests with whatever data we want to send to the client. So the last thing is going to be setting our response, which is this parameter here. Response, and then saying it's a JSON object, and then the parameter will take the dino name response. And the other thing we want to do is maybe console log this thing. So I'm gonna console log dino name response, and this will write to our console down here in our node thing. So in order for the website to be able to get this data from the server, we need to write some code in our client-side JavaScript. So we go into script.js. What we need to do is create another GET request to get the data from the server. So the server used a GET request to get data from the API. Then we need to have another GET request on the client side, the website, to get the data from our server. going to create another async thing because again, since we're using a route and API, we need to use asynchronous JavaScript. So we're going to create an async function, and I'm going to call this get dyno name. Let me make sure I named everything correctly. Yeah, so dyno name, yeah. Async function get dyno name. And this is sort of similar to the server-side JavaScript. So we're going to create another constant. We'll call this the response. So the response from the server. This is going to do await and then fetch. And instead of the API stuff that we had used previously in our server-side JavaScript, we're fetching the route that we just created. So dyno name. Then we want to again format the response, the fetch response, since it's a promise, into JSON. And if I have any mistakes and inaccuracies in what I'm saying, please leave a comment down below. And if I've made any giant mistakes, I'll pin a comment or something with the corrections. But I don't know. I think I've heard that people sometimes feel like you shouldn't do stuff until you know it completely, but I've just learned so many things over the course of working as a dev that I often work on projects that I would do things I didn't 100% understand how they worked, but I knew that it kind of worked. Maybe that's not the best way. Obviously, it's better to understand everything, but I feel like it's a pretty realistic scenario that you're going to, at some point, have to build something that you're not 100% confident to know how to do. So kind of my purpose in making this video this way is that so I can show you the sort of research process and the testing and just being really honest about things I don't understand, like JavaScript promises. Okay, so where were we? So we got our response from the route, and then we have we're making another constant of the data, and we are formatting it as JSON. So I think at this point, I'm just going to console log the data, and hopefully this will mean that the data will come from the API to the server, here to the browser, and we'll see in the browser console whatever data comes back from that. Yeah, so I think that's good. The next thing we want to do is we want to actually execute the get dyno name function when we load the page. Okay, so all the parts are in place. Let's just see how the website looks. So here's our website here. I'm gonna reload this, see if anything happened. Looks like nothing has happened. So let's think about this. Uh-oh, I got a error here. Oh, fetch is not defined. Let's see if it tells you any kind of line number. Okay, so I think that the problem here is it says the error fetch is not defined. I kind of forgot I'm using fetch, which is a JavaScript function. I'm using it in our Node code, and you have to install Node fetch, which is another module. So let me create a new terminal thing, npm install node fetch, and we'll need this outside of dev as well, so we'll install it normally. Okay, so now that we've installed node fetch, we can say, I'll just do it right here. So const fetch, and we will require node fetch, which we just installed. This allows you to use the fetch function in Node. So let's go back to our Node thing. And oh, hey, look at that. Oh man, this is very exciting. Okay, might be too big. So we can see here the dinosaur names have come out. So this is great. Let's check our website too. So we load here. Maybe I'll put this on the right side so it's not blocking stuff. Okay, so here is our dinosaur names, which is pretty awesome. So we can see here that it is coming in an array, which has one array item, and that array item is another array, which contains these strings. So what we need to do is, I want to take the items out of this array and put them into a string so that the fake name of the dinosaur is these two words. So first let's take things out of the array and try to put it into a string. So let's go into our client-side JavaScript. And I think we want, so data is the big array that we got. And since there's only going to be one item, let's say data, and then square brackets and 0. This will return the child, the first child. So let's reload here. So now we can see, now there's just an array here. What I want to do is take these items out of the array and convert it into a string. So how do I figure out how to do that? So let's use good old DuckDuckGo. So JavaScript convert array to string. Okay, W3 schools I think is an okay thing. So this will do fruits to string. Return the string with all the array values separated by commas. I'm not sure if that's what I want, but let's just try. See what happens. Go back to our site. Okay, so it's separated by a comma. Obviously I don't want that. I want that to be a space instead of a comma. Let's see, convert array to string, and then let's say space. How to convert array into a string without a comma separated by space. Yeah, so this is what I did here, array to string separated by a comma. Oh, we can do array join instead of to string. Let's try that. So join, and then it's saying to use whatever separator you want. So since I want a space, we'll do quote with a space in there. All right, now reload the website. Hey, so here is our dinosaur name. Nice. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to create another constant, I guess. Maybe I should use let in case we want to change that value. So I'll just say dino name equals, and then we'll get this out here, and then console log dino name. So let's go back to the website. Okay, looks pretty good. Looks like everything's working. So back in our function, what I want to do for our final website is I don't necessarily want to run this on page load. I mean, I guess I could, but I want to have a button so that every time you click the button, it'll generate a new dinosaur image and then a dinosaur name. So let's create our button, and then we're going to wire up our JavaScript to the button click event. So over here in our index.html, I'm just going to create a button. And I'm going to give it an ID of button load. And then generate dinosaur. I think that's all I need. So now I can take this button load and I can create a event listener. So document query selector button load, add event listener, and then I think I can just do another arrow thing, maybe. Let's see if that works. I think that's right. And then when we click the button, then it's going to run this function. Okay, let's see if I did that right. So here's my button. I'm gonna click it. Oh yeah. So we have the dinosaur name. The next thing we want to do is do kind of the same thing for the dinosaur image that we're going to get from the Bing image search. So we'll start by creating the route again in our index.js file, and then we'll create another function here for the getDino image. So in our index.js, we're going to do basically the same thing here. So I might just copy this and then change the route name. So instead of dino name, the route will be called dino image. And then of course we need to replace this info with whatever's in the Rapid API thing. So going back to the Rapid API, Bing image search. Okay, so I don't want trending images, I want the image search. So the only required parameter is the search term. So dinosaur. And let's see, market. I don't think this matters too much. And count, that is important. So since this is an image search, I think let's return a bunch of images and then we're going to choose one one image, one random image from the collection of images. So now let's do test endpoint. And we can see that it's giving us, these are the items. So there's a lot of stuff in this array here. So there's some info up there. And then the actual results are in this value field. So we'll have to remember that. So value is an object that contains these other, each result. And then each result has a bunch of fields. Name, thumbnail URL, date published, all kinds of things. So I think the field I'm looking for is, I need the image URL. So I think I might just take the thumbnail URL instead of the content URL because the thumbnail is a smaller file. So I don't need a giant file here. Okay, so we'll just remember this for later. So let's go back to the code snippets and then select JavaScript fetch. So you can see here the parameter that I added, dinosaur, and then count equals 10 is included in here. So they make this pretty easy to use. Okay, so going back here, now we're going to replace the fetch that was loading the name and replace that with the Bing image search. Okay, awesome. So let's make sure we have everything named here correctly. So Dino image is the name of the route, which is good. And then Dino name response, let's just call that Dino image response. And then replace that there. Okay, now let's add the client-side JavaScript. So going back to our script.js file, we're going to do the same thing, similar things here. So instead of get Dino name, it's going to be get Dino image. And we're going to update the route to be Dino image. And then, okay, obviously this data stuff is something that it's going to be different because the data looks different. So I think what I'm going to do is we'll just say data for now. And then we'll see what we want to, how we want to sort of parse the data. So let Dino image equals data. And we'll replace this with Dino image. Cool. All right, so then we want to add running this function when we click the button. Okay, so let's see if this works. We'll go back to our website, reload, and click the button. Oh, ooh, yeah, look at this. Okay, so I guess we can just use a console thing. We don't need the inspector at the moment. So we have the dinosaur name, which is good. And then we have the object from Bing. So again, it's, let's see, in here, we need value and then all this stuff. So what I'm going to do right now is, in the end, I do want to just select a random dinosaur from this collection of items, but just to make sure we have all the fields named right and everything, we're just going to hard code the first result. So it's a value and then the first result. So under the get Dino image, let Dino image equals data and then value, which is that field. And then we're going to take the first result. So now let's reload the website, click the button. Okay, so now it's returning just the first image. And the field that we wanted was the thumbnail URL. So let's take that. Oh, is there an error? No, it looks okay. Reload the website, click the button. Okay, and now we have an image URL, and let's just see what this looks like. And it's a dinosaur image. How about that? We have our dinosaur image working, so now let's add in the logic to load a random item from the 10 items that we're getting from Bing. So you remember we hard-coded the 0 to get just the first item, but what we want to do is we want to insert a random number. So a random number between 0 and then however long the array is. So since we have received 10 images, we want a random number between 0 and 9. So let's look up how to do that. So JavaScript, get random number, and let's see what we come back with. Okay, so W3 schools is the top thing. Turn a random number between 0 and 1. Okay, and it's inclusive, so it includes 0, and then it is exclusive, it excludes 1. So I think that's good because we're returning 10 items, but the 10th item is actually going to be index of 9 because we started from 0. So we need to take this, and this is only 0 to 1, so it's basically a fraction. Get random array item. So I think we use something on top of the random thing. Okay, get a random item from a JavaScript array. And this is good because you can see there's a ton of votes here. So that kind of indicates that this is probably a good answer. Also, it was asked 10 years ago. So let's see what the answers are. Okay, items is the array, and then math floor, and then math random. So math floor rounds down. So if it's like a fraction, will round down to 0. And then math random, which will generate a number between 0 and 1 times the item's length. Okay, so that makes sense. So copy that, and then here, we'll add it here. So what's happening is math random is going to be, let's say, 0.5. And then you multiply it by the length of the array, which I should actually change items to data, right? Yeah, data. So data length is 10 because we're getting 10 items. So some fraction times 10, so it'll be somewhere between, I guess, 0 and 10, or it'll be 0 and then maximum will be 9, I guess. And then we round down in case there's a decimal. So that should work. Let's go back to our website, reload, click the button. Uh-oh. Something's undefined. What was undefined? Oh, instead of data length, it actually needs data value. Because data is like the whole thing. So like, I'm guessing that's what was wrong there. So let's try again, reload, click the button. Yes, cool. So if I click the button again without reloading, is it gonna load a new image or the old image? Okay, they look like they're different images. Let's just check. Just wanna make sure that we're loading a different image every time. Nice, and we are. Sweet. So now we actually have everything we need to, we have everything we need in terms of the data to put into our website. So the next step is gonna be going into our client-side JavaScript as well as our index.html, and then, displaying the name as well as loading an image from our API data. So for the name, I think I might just create a div and we'll say Dino name. And then I guess I could create an image tag, but I feel like it's not great practice to have a blank image tag. Maybe it's not good practice to have a blank div either. But I guess we'll just do these two different approaches. So I think what I'm going to do for the image is actually generate an image element in the JavaScript when we are loading the API. So first things first, let's take care of the name. So Dino name. If we go into our script.js file, going back up to get Dino name. So Dino name is the string, it's formatted correctly and everything. So what we're going to do is get that div we just made, document query selector, Dino name, and set the text content to Dino name. All right, let's see if that works. Reload the site, click the button. Nice. If we click the button again, it changes. That's awesome. Okay, so that was simpler. Now for the Dino image, we want to create an image element in JavaScript. So let's look up how to do that. So JavaScript. So when I'm looking up stuff, I usually try to put the language name or whatever first, just to sort of filter out all the results. So JavaScript generate image, maybe image element. How to create an image element dynamically using JavaScript. Okay, so here we go. Let me zoom in a little bit. So var image, document create element with image, and then you set the image.src for the source, and then you append the element you just created to the body. Let's copy this. Obviously the source is something else. We want the source to be Dino image, so we'll just replace that. So now we want to create image, and maybe instead of var we'll use a let. And we're going to use a let because we want to change the image. If you use a constant, I think it will not change. So let image equals document create element, img, image source set to Dino image. And I guess we'd also set the alt tag for the image. Can we just do that? Alt. Is that? And we'll set it to another field from the API. Let's see. So we go down to the results. Let's find the name of that field for the alt. So I guess the best thing would be probably the name. So we'll set that to the alt text. Oh, I probably need to create a new thing. So maybe let Dino alt equals data. Oh, actually, I think what I need to do is have this just be the item itself, and then I'll make a new variable for the image URL and then a new variable for the alt text. So let Dino image is going to be this, but not thumbnail URL. So it's just going to be the image. And then we'll say let Dino image URL equals Dino image dot thumbnail. Then a new one, let Dino alt equals Dino image dot name, I think. And then we'll just add this here, just so it'll show up. So now I just need to change this. Image source is Dino image URL. Image alt equals Dino alt. Okay, let's see if that worked. Oops, something was wrong. Maybe name. This should be the right field. Let's just comment out the alt stuff for now. Let's just make sure that this thing's working with just the image source. Okay, let's try again. This is throwing an error. I mean, it is returning the item, which is good. So script.js, line 27. Let's see here. Why is that? Get element by ID is null. Oh, because this is the copied code. So my body does not have an ID of body. So I'm going to do query selector, my favorite thing. There we go. Reload. So you notice that when I'm trying to put a fix in for something, I didn't uncomment the alt. So I just want to change one thing at a time and then just keep testing every step. Because if you change multiple things and it either works or doesn't work, then you don't know exactly what caused it. So you kind of have to go one by one. Okay, yay! Okay, so now the image is showing up. We're going to add back in the image alt text. Let's try again. All right, now we'll inspect this and see. Yes, so the alt text is getting set, which is great. And if we click the button again, oh, did the name change? So there's two problems here. It's generating the image every time we click the button. So we need to fix that. So the problem is here, get Dino image. Yeah, so like we're generating an image tag every single time and then appending it to the body. So I think what I want to do is add some logic so that when you click the button, it's going to delete images, any image that there is, because there's only one image on that page, and then generate the new one. So let's go back to DuckDuckGo and say JavaScript delete element. Okay, here we go. W3 schools. So, okay, so just remove. That seems pretty easy. And sometimes for the heck of it, if I'm not positive the first result that I look at is correct, I'll sort of try to check other things. Let's try Stack Overflow. So there's not many upvotes on this, so I'm not sure if the solution is going to be great. I'm not sure about that. Maybe ES6 syntax, since we're doing that. Nice. Okay, cool. Because that other Stack Overflow result, it seemed like it was maybe an old way of doing things, just because, one, it's 8 years old. And then the solution, it just kind of seemed like it was using some outdated syntax. And I understand that's something that you can't know right off the bat, but I think the whole thing with the parent node and whatever, it just seemed like JavaScript has kind of evolved from that point, which it has when we added, ES6 to the syntax. When we added ES6 to the search, it sort of tells you. Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, here we go. ES6 remove. Modern approach to remove an element is to use the remove method. So that seems like it's the right thing to do, right? Okay, so what I want to do is when we click the button before we create the image, I think I need to check if the image exists. So I wonder if I should create an ID. So like image, and I'm assuming ID is going to be Dino image. And then I can maybe use this to identify if the image exists or not. So let's reload. Okay, let's check this. Okay, so the ID is set. So this means I can check for document query selector Dino image and check what the length is. Why is it undefined? So length doesn't work. I guess maybe because I'm not sure why length doesn't work. Let's just check for the h1 tags. We know that exists. h1 length. So what do we want to do? JavaScript, check if element exists. This is really like the real life of a developer. Trying to do something, having it not work, and then looking something up. Okay, for example, if the element had an ID of find me, it will either return a reference to the element or a null. Oh. Let's go back to the site. So Dino image, so it exists now, so it is not null. So let's check if it is null. It is not null. Let's reload the site. So now it is null because it doesn't exist yet. So I guess we can use this. So before we generate the new image, we're going to say if document query selector Dino image is not null, which means if the image exists, then we want to delete that image. So document query. Oh, can I use this keyword? This remove. Let's see if that works. And I'm hoping that this will refer to whatever is in here. I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. Let's just experiment and see. Yeah, this removes not a function. So I think it only works when you're doing something with this, but that also might just be my jQuery background coming out, because that's mainly what I worked with in the past and not even that advanced. Okay, so let's try again. If you click the button, hopefully the image will just get replaced and there won't be two images. Let's try again. Oh, it did change. So maybe that one time it replaced it with the same one. Okay. That works for me. Okay, so I think we have all the functional stuff working. Now that we have the dinosaur name and image showing, I wanted to go back to the security issue when it comes with working with API keys. So again, it is extremely important when you're working with APIs to not publicly share your API key. So one way we're doing that is we are using server-side JavaScript to actually get all the API data. So this is better than having it in your client-side JavaScript because the browser can literally see everything in your client-side JavaScript. And I could be wrong, but I think it's generally not a good practice to get API stuff with an API key in your client-side JavaScript. So that's why it's in the server side, because the browser can't see all the code here. It only sees what the server actually sends to the client. And the other thing we would need to be careful about is, let's say this code's going into a GitHub repository. Well, when we commit our code here, it's going to have our API key listed here. So that's kind of dangerous too, because then if your GitHub repository is public, and even if it is private, I still wouldn't want to put it in, like, you don't want it in your Git history because you never know what could happen. So what we want to do is we want to take this API key out, put it in some place that is not going to be part of your Git repo. But we obviously want to commit our index.js file. So one solution to that is to store the API key value itself in what's called an environmental variable. So what that is it's actually a separate file, and I'll create it now, .env. So this .env file is where we can actually store sensitive information like the API key, and we can access it in our server-side JavaScript, but it won't be, we're not going to include the env file in our Git repo. So that way it's kept safe. And this is something that you only really need for when you're doing development, because you can set the environmental variable directly on your production server if you're deploying this to a server. But when you're working locally, we can use this env file. So the way that we need to use this is we actually need to install a package called .env. So .env is a zero dependency module that loads environmental variables from a .env file into process.env. So this tells you how to use it. So as early as possible in your application, require and configure .env. So first things first, let's install .env in our project. So we'll go back to our other command line here. So npm install .env, and we only need this for development. So we'll say save dev. And now in our package JSON, we see .env here. So that's great. So going back to the website, so require and configure .env. So we'll add this to our code here. It says as early as possible, so I guess I can put it at the very top. And then create a .env file in the root directory, which we did. Add environment-specific variables on new lines in the form of name equals value. Okay, so we just need one, so we're going to do API underscore key equals, and then we're going to take this API key here, copy that, paste it here. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's no semicolons, just put everything on its own line. So we'll save this. And then now in our server-side JavaScript, instead of the key, we can use, what was it? Process.env dot, the name of the variable. So process.env. So wait, is this right? I think actually what I might do is, since we're using this twice, I'm going to create a new variable. I guess I'll just make it here. So const API key equals process.env .api key. So now I can just use this variable in both places instead of the actual API key. And this is because I'm using Rapid API, and it actually gives you one API key, and you can use multiple APIs. So kind of makes things a bit easier for you. So this is good. And the other thing to remember with this .env file is just make sure you add this to your gitignore file and don't commit it. So I think that's everything we need to add. Actually, let's see. So the thing is with .env, as we said, this is only for development. We don't want this to be used on a production environment. So we can add some kind of logic to, let's see. Don't commit env to version control. I want to like not use .env if we're not like in dev. Maybe it's in the Express documentation. Okay, let's just go back to doc.go. So I guess node.env only on production. Running only, oh, maybe .env only on production. Maybe condition. Oh, here we go. What website is this? App Dividend. Okay. So if process env node environment is not production, then use .env. So I think I can just use that. Let's just actually do a search for this to see what happens, just to find some more sources. How to set node environment to production. I don't think that's what I need. Maybe condition. Okay, so there is another process env.node_env equals production. So it seems it's the same thing, so I'm guessing this is probably okay to use. Let's see, where was this? Here we go. So I'll copy this. And I guess they'll put it at the top again. I don't know. We'll see if this works or not. If the environment is not production, which it's not since I'm working locally, then required.env.config. All right, let's go to website. Click the button. Uh-oh. Something is not working. Let's go back to here. Oh no, it says I'm not subscribed to the API. What? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Let's use the hard-coded API key just to make sure things are working. Oh boy. Okay, let's try this again. So that's working. So something about the way I actually, why don't we try just take this value here and see if that works. So somehow it's not getting the right value out of here. So let's double check the syntax. Oh, let's take this out of the condition just to see if that's the reason why. Okay, so condition is not the problem. Put that back. So I think something is wrong with the, oh shoot. I put the env file in the public folder, which is very not right. It needs to be in your web root, like the root directory of your website. Okay. That's probably why I was not able to load the environmental variable. So if we go back here, we'll just use this variable again. Okay. Reload the website, click the button. Whew, okay. Everything's working. Everything's fine. So sometimes load the same image. I'm guessing just because I'm only getting 10 dinosaurs, so It's just hard to not have a repeat sometimes. Maybe I'll get more, so maybe instead of 10 I'll do 20. See if that helps with the randomness. All right, that's good enough for me. Okay, so let's double check our code, make sure everything is secure and saved. We're not, you know, publicly showing any important information. So API key variable, API key variable. Yeah, and then we're using this thing to only run in not production. So I think we are pretty good in terms of functionality. So now that we have the sort of JavaScript side all set, now we can kind of make this website look a little cooler than this, because this is not that cool. So let's make it look a bit cooler. So first thing I think I'm going to do is let's get a background image, unsplash, and then let's look for rainforest. So what would be a good background for dinosaurs, right? This might be kind of cool. Ooh, this would be cool, I think. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but this is cool, but it's vertical. Let's try landscape. I sort of like this one. All right, we'll just download it. So let's take the file. It's 1 megabyte. Okay, it's whatever. So we'll just put it up here into our public folder. So now, in our public folder, here's the image. So let's do some styles. So let's set the background of the body. So background, URL. Oh. I'm just doing this to get the name of the image, but it should just be this. Oh, and I think I can just do background like size cover. Let's see if that worked. Why is the image not showing up? Body. I'm gonna close the console since we don't need JavaScript stuff anymore. Okay, this is not right. I promise I know how to do CSS. I just usually use separate properties, but I was just trying to use the background shorthand property. All right, trusty old MDN. Let's just use background image just to make sure I have this correct. I need the slash. All right, let's try reloading the thing. Oh, there we go. Let's try to use the shorthand thing. URL, cover. Maybe cover needs to go first. Why does background size not work? Oh, center contain. So I need to do center slash cover. So center slash cover. Oh, there we go. And then I don't want it to repeat. Why is it not stretching? Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, let's do no repeat. No repeat. Weird. Background size is cover, which should cover everything. I don't know. This is strange. If I just do center auto. Okay, I guess that worked. Yeah, just center is fine. Okay, so we'll just take this. Use the background shorthand. Okay. So reload the page. All right, so it looks fairly jungly, I suppose. Now let's click the button, see how it looks. Looks okay. Maybe I'll add like a container for the content in the site, just so, at least for the generator part. Maybe I'll just make this a section. And we'll give it a class of generator. So now, generator, let's make background, oh my gosh, background white. And let's also add some padding. So padding all the way around, maybe just 2 rems. And then we'll just set a default color to a really dark gray. All right, reload. Oh boy. Maybe that was not the right thing to do. Because I kind of like the jungly thing. Okay. So this is okay looking. Let's see how tall. Ooh, the body. Let's say min height 100 VH. And then maybe you also want to sort of center everything. Display flex. Oh boy. Flex direction column. And then, oh, I think I can do display grid. Place items. Center. And I think I don't want this height 100V. So now these things are sort of centered. There we go. So I'll just add these to the body. We're not trying to be super fancy here. Okay. I am okay with that. Although maybe I should put it into a container. Ugh. This is what happens when you don't work from a design. Okay, so we're gonna do this stuff here for the generator. Let's try again. So now the body, I think I do want that to be min height 100 VH. All right, cool. Generate dinosaur. Okay. I am okay with that. Why is the image not getting included here? Oh shoot, because it was getting appended to the body. So let's append it to the generator element. That's going to be in, I think, the script. Yeah, so query selector, we want to append it to generator. There we go. So now the image should be in the same element as everything else. Oh. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, it's class of generator, not ID. So reload, click the button. Yay. So now this looks better. Things are centered. I think maybe I kind of want to center this vertically too. Let's see what we can do here. So body. So let's see. Body is 100 VH, 100 viewport height units. And then what if I say body is display flex? Flex direction column. And then that would be, I think, justify content. Center. Ooh, there we go. And maybe we'll just add some space, but I think that looks all right. And then it'll also be kind of responsive, I think. So we may have to add some CSS to the image. So add this to the body. So maybe I like putting the alignment stuff at the top. Okay. I guess the weird part there is that the stuff moves. So maybe not centered. Yeah, we'll just leave things at the top. We don't need to be too crazy here. Okay, I'm okay with that. I don't know if we even need... I guess it's good to center it. Why do we have scroll bars here? Oh, because of this. Margin top 0. So let's add that to the styles as well. Margin top 0. And then I will delete this stuff here. Oh no, I want the text line to be stay. Okay. And let's add some padding. Padding of 2 rems all around. So we're getting there, right? And things don't move that much. So one thing we want to do is make the image 100% width. Max width of 100%. So now it'll be more responsive. This is for the Dino image element. So okay, I'm okay with that. And maybe we'll also add a little border radius of 1 rem. So cute. Okay, let's make these fonts a bit better. So Google Fonts, let's make like a kind of a fun looking font or something like that. So under categories, let's do display because that's where the fun fonts are. And then we'll say dinosaur generator. That's what would be a good font. This one's okay. I don't know if it's like a caveman font or something, but something maybe a little bit more fun. Oh, this one looks pretty good. Or this one. This one looks actually... Let's try this one. It looks sort of, I don't know, fits the dinosaur theme, I suppose. Let's copy this, put it in our HTML head. And we'll put it before our actual style.css file. And then now, the font family is Sigmar 1. So for our H1, we'll say font family. And then let's make the default font family like just Arial or whatever. Okay. Nice. Maybe we'll make it a little bigger. Font size 2 rems. Line height should be 1. Ooh, nice. Kind of like that. There we go. Next thing I want to do is, I think, make the button look a bit better, of course. So button element, I think what you want to do is border or background blue. I'm just sort of trying to get rid of the default style. So border none. And then padding, color, white, padding, 1 rem, and then 2 rems horizontal, and then maybe add a border radius again. Maybe less than 1 rem, 0.5 rems. Okay, so we'll do something like this, but we're going to change the background color. That's not blue. So maybe the button will go first. button. And what color do we want? Let's pick maybe some kind of green color. I think actually they say you should use HSL when you can. So change to HSL. Change all the colors to HSL. Cool. Let's make the button stand out. Maybe red color is better. Purple's okay. I think red's good. So we'll take that, go down to button, and now it's red. Nice. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now let's add a hover state to the button. And since I'm using CSS, not Sass, we're gonna have to do button, hover, background, and we'll take this, but make it maybe a little bit darker. Or, here we go, darker. And we'll add a transition background color. I think I'll just give you some default timings and easings. Maybe it should just be background. Do I need to add a timing? Oh, I guess I did need to add the timing. Maybe 150 milliseconds and then ease in, out. There we go. And then we also want to make the cursor a pointer, I believe. So it looks like you can click it. There you go. Not bad. Maybe we'll also make it all caps. So text transform, uppercase. Okay, cool. So now we click it and let's add some spacing here. So under the button, we'll add a margin and add another margin under the name. Let's add 2 rems. Oh, and maybe we could make this look like a label. So dyno name, we'll say background is white. And then padding 0.5 rems, maybe 0.25 rems. And then on the image, we'll make the border radius only on the bottom. So 0, 0, 1 rem, 1 rem. So it's a little bit more cohesive. And then border radius on the label too, we'll do 1 rem, 1 rem, 0, 0. So now it's like a label type of thing. That makes it look a bit better. Okay, so this is for the dyno name. Oops. Dyno name. Add these styles. And oh yeah, let's make this HSL. Well, I feel like it matters less when you're using like white or black. And then dyno image. And then I guess that's good. He'll add a little bit more margin bottom. Four rems seems like it's okay. Uh-oh. Oh, because the white thing here is because of the label thing. So I might actually need to add logic to generate this thing dynamically the same way we did the image. Let's see. So it's document create element. So under dyno name. So const, or was it a let? It was a let. Let dyno name div equals document create element, and I guess div, and then dyno name div dot id equals dyno name, and we need to add that condition again. If it exists or not, then remove. So I'll copy that. So if the dyno name thing exists, then remove it. So hopefully this will work. Oh, right, because there we go. Now it shouldn't exist. Yeah, so now it doesn't exist. Let's open this just to see what happens. Now click the button. Okay. It didn't generate it. It does not exist. I'm not even sure if like this is correct. Let's paste this in the browser. I didn't see an error, so I don't know what's going on. Oh, sorry. I want to... Oh, I didn't append it. Of course. Here we go. Document query selector generator append child. Oh, and I think I need to actually append it at the end, and instead of document query selector, I'm going to go here. And hopefully the text content will work. And then append child, dyno name div. All right, now let's see if it will append the name. Yay! It's a little bit janky because the name comes back before the image. So it's like, yeah. Oh geez, that's not good. So I'll just make the label. I'm gonna be lazy and just separate them again. Yeah, let's do that. So we're just going to, under dyno name, margin bottom of 1 rem, and then border radius is going to be, actually let's keep the label square, and then border radius for the image is 1 rem. Okay, let's try that again. I mean, it looks cool, but okay. This doesn't look great. I think when I click the button, I want to hide all that stuff. Or maybe just remove it straight out. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna move the condition things to remove it right when you click the button. And I think that will help with the jankiness right now. All right, let's see if that helps. Oh, much better. Oh yeah, look at that. Maybe I can put back the stuff here. Okay, we'll try to make them the cohesive label thing. I thought that looked kind of cool. It's okay. You know what? I kind of think this is good enough. Oh yeah, that's bad. That's bad. The problem is this needs to be the same width. So what I actually need to do is make another div encompassing the name and the image. I might be overthinking this, but I'm going to create an empty div here. Dyno, we'll call it dyno wrapper. So this blank thing is where we'll append the label and the image. So instead of appending it to the generator thing, we're going to append it to dyno wrapper. And then we should be able to use CSS to sort of style things better. Okay, so now let's see what we got here. So what we could do is set a width for dyno wrapper. So we'll say width is maybe 60%. I guess the problem is we don't know how wide the images are. Because if it's smaller, if the image just happens to be smaller than the... Let's say width is 50%, max width is 400 pixels. Display block, margin, auto to center it. And maybe we'll add a little media query for this. So Dino wrapper. And then add a media query. So media min width of, what would a good desktop or mobile width be? Maybe 500 EMs? Maybe 600 EMs. I think 600 EM. And then we'll do we'll make this maybe 80 for mobile. And then we want to not use pixels, but we want to use rems. So 400 divided by 16 is 25 rems. This is for responsiveness. I'm sorry, this is for accessibility, so that when you zoom in or out in the browser, it will change and not be stuck at 400 pixels. I feel like this may not be right. So, but decent, maybe 700 pixels for maybe 600 pixels. 600 pixels divided by 16 is 37.5 EMs. So this is going to be way too big. 37.5. This is just kind of a general thing. And I think we can just do this. Okay, let's give it another go. Not bad. Maybe we'll do another media query for the H1 size. So we'll do 3 rems for desktop and 2 rems for mobile. It is still slightly janky, but I think we really just wanted to show the logic on this. So I'm okay with it being slightly janky. Okay, so we got our dinosaur generator working. We're pulling the data from the API, from Rapid API, and then we're generating the name and the image. So one other thing to note, and what I will probably be doing when this is done, is going to refresh my API key so it can't be taken from here. So what I'm going to have to do is here, it sort of creates a default application for you. Maybe you can't see that. Let's do this. So under security, this is the API key. So this is the key that I pasted in my app. But you can add a new key and then you can delete the old key. So I'm going to be deleting this one when we're done with this video. But yeah, so this is kind of a different kind of video. The last video I did when I was doing research on building the dark light toggle, which I'll link up somewhere here. People seem to like the whole research process. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And yeah.